So I think, again, you're looking at a range here.
Right.
And I'm also going to throw this out here. A younger man will be very different than a more mature man.
As a man,
Yes.
so what do you think about girls who post a lot of pictures of themselves?
I think the balance point is not necessarily the half and half or the deal being cut. I think it's basically giving where each side can give. You know, the idea of being into her and you want that, if you want, that's what you're looking for, is not a guy who's going to sit on his phone.
Hello, everyone. This is the Munch Corner podcast. You are welcomed by your hosts. I am Savannah, and this is my husband, Omar. We are
the Munch Corner.
I think we covered that.
We covered that. Okay.
We are bringing you part 2 to a very important series. If you did not watch it before, questions guys are too afraid to ask girls.
So
go and check it out. Now, what are we doing?
We're going into much more dangerous territory. This is going to be what girls want to know from guys.
Yes.
I'm scared.
Whoa.
You are. He
Should
does
I be
not
afraid?
know. He knows nothing.
No, I know nothing
I
about
never
these
knew
questions,
anything
so-
before. So it's very interesting to get these questions kind of fired at you, not expecting anything.
I'm going to have to try to think on my feet. I don't know if I can do it.
You'll be okay, I'm pretty sure. We have our iced coffee today. It is
Yes.
a hot one. So we're going to take a sip before we get going.
When she said we have our iced coffee, it means that our coffee's iced, but it's really hot weather.
Yes,
So,
I gather that's what people...
Welcome to our sea theme.
And we have our wonderful ocean mugs again.
Yes, and we have a nice thank you to our friends at Bodie Leaf who
For our coffee.
For our coffee today.
All right. We're going to start with a firecracker to get us all up
All
now.
right, so I'm going to predicate what I'm going to say. So let me do this here, since I don't know what Savannah's was going to sort of throw at me, but I'm going to give you a perspective that's going to be mine,
Yes.
but also what I think guys think as well.
Right.
So
You can't answer for everyone.
I cannot answer
You
for
can
everybody,
answer
but I'm
the
going to
best
try
that
to
you can.
extrapolate as much as possible. But I will probably
understand
give you a
that.
perspective that will be probably my own as well as what I think others would be. So I'm game. So
That's pretty good. All
hit me
right.
with the firecracker.
Okay. What makes a girl sexually attractive?
Oh my gosh, did we have to start off?
Yeah, why
not?
not? Because, I mean, guys find a sexually attractive thing different from one guy to the next, right?
Yes.
So it's
absolutely.
not
Right.
necessarily always physical,
Well, I mean,
but
the good
as a
news-
guy,
the
how are
good
you going
news-
to answer that?
Okay, the good news for women is that men have huge range of taste,
Okay.
right? I mean, so you're going to find
It's a good news for all of us. If
good
we had
news.
the same taste, it
And-
would be a bit
it means
problematic.
all women would have to be exactly the same.
Mhm.
So I think if I'm passing a message on to women in general, appreciate who you are and how you are, because you're going to find attraction with somebody that is going to basically be attracted to that type. Men are visual. I'm not going to turn around and say that that's not the case. So, but when you're talking about attraction to me, there's more than just the visual.
Okay.
Okay, so the visual may start off that little part that a man will be sparked with.
It pushes it along, I guess.
It pushes it a lot, so it's not like you couldn't find that. And I'm not going to lie for men. I mean, there's just men are visual, so it's just what they are. So
Why is that? If you want to touch on it, as a man, why do you think that is? You just
I don't know. I mean, I think it's part of our wiring. I mean, so and I'll speak about it from that kind of point of view as well.
is it the two brain thing too?
Wow, I don't know. What are you referring to? What's the other brain that you're thinking?
I think everyone knows.
Is it because you're turning red that we already know the answer to this? Yes, yeah, you're.
Well, you said it's the way men are wired.
Okay, so
and I think that ties into having as a man 2 brains.
So I've done a little bit of research on this because I'm actually interested and curious myself.
Mhm.
But the drive for a man, so we're talking about the sexual drive, which side of the sexual attraction, is very heavily pushed by the idea you need to reproduce. Now, I know a lot of men aren't looking for a bunch of children out there,
Looking at instinct now.
but I'm talking about it's like a physiological part of a man.
Mhm.
And so it obviously translates into the attraction to women or a woman or the desire to make love to somebody, Or, I mean, unfortunately, I would say some men are just interested in sex, right? I mean, that's kind of it. So it's not like it could be more in depth or less. Now, the more sophisticated man, to me, will be drawn to a woman not just physically, but the connection is deeper by something else.
I think so. By having a more intimate relationship in the sense of soulfully connected makes the sexual attraction stronger.
It does, but it does for certain men. So I think, again, you're looking at a range here.
Right.
And I'm also going to throw this out here. A younger man will be very different than a more mature man. So the range also changes again. And the drive, that sexual drive, is so much stronger, obviously, as you're younger. So when we talk about teenagers being teenagers, there's a reason for that. You know, they're at a very much at the beginning and a very peak part of being a man.
Do you have advice for someone who's a little bit younger watching this and still wants an answer to that question?
I do. I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice that I would have is you could see an instant attraction, I think a man would have to a woman without even talking to her, just from the physical, right? So this is the visual part that a man would be. But the depth of that attraction, the length of that attraction, and for a young man who initially, and I'll throw this out here. So, I mean, let's just start with teenagers because we'll be kind of at that age. Teenagers are drawn to, teenage boys are drawn to teenage girls. Let's just generalize that. And that's because they just love that energy. Now, they can't understand their own feelings about this, right? It's still, this is part of that primal brain that I think both sides have. But I mean, let's talk about men in general. But that primal brain will drive them to be around girls, right? So you're going to start with girls and then you can work your way into, as you get older, to being more mature women. Now, they might be drawn to something that is overtly sexual at the beginning. So, you know, a girl with a short skirt or, you know, showing a lot, that's going to be very exciting. But that's not the depth of a relationship. And so they haven't figured that out, I think, at a very early stage. So if I had to give advice to a young man, is to take into account yourself and sort of be outside of yourself. Now, that's really difficult when your hormones are like on fire. You talk about firecracker. It's alive and it's well and it never goes away. Right. So for men, there is this drive sexually that's going to be there no matter what. It does change, obviously, as you get older. As you get more matured, you become more self-assured. There's a lot of other things. So, but for the young man, I would have to challenge you to one thing. And it's not hard to do, but you want a connection with somebody that's going to be beyond a moment, right? Because that can happen in a moment to be sexually attracted to somebody and then it's gone. But to really have that depth in which you never knew what you're going to miss because you don't know it yet is the connection to that person. It's not just the physical part. And what you don't know yet is that sexual connection is going to be like so incredibly much more by being able to be connected to that individual. Now, connections change. Obviously, as you're younger, you're growing, you're figuring yourself out. But this would be the same thing for an older man. And so when I say that a woman can be appealing physically, and again, physical for you is going to be different than physical for another guy. However, the energy that woman has and who she is and how she comes across will also be an enormous driver in that attraction. And that doesn't mean that, you know, she has to be a certain way. I think you're going to find certain men are going to be attracted to women that are very self-assured. Okay. Other men are going to be very driven and attracted to somebody who is shy. You know, so it does change. And the other thing that's a big secret for the men, you know, you're not static and women aren't static either, or the girls aren't static. So being able to sort of jump in and connect creates an enormous attraction.
Okay, so girls, just be yourself. And a connection is important. It's not just about physical. So I know a lot of girls, because remember, we're talking to the girls right now.
So
these are questions they want to know. Talking to the girls.
Okay, so you ask yourself the question, what is it that you want in a relationship? If you want that attraction, you're like, what attracts men? And you want a long-term relationship or you want an in-depth relationship, you may not decide what long-term is, but a very strong connection, you've got to be yourself. Because if you pretend to be somebody else,
Or just focus on the physical.
Or just focus on the physical. You're going to lose this other dimension that is
Unfortunately,
going to be...
I think that relationship will dwindle very quickly because you're later going
It
to
is.
find as you grow with someone throughout the months and years, if there's no connection, you lose each other because physical is not everything.
So this is I'm going to go on a slight tangent here, but when you have an initial attraction to somebody, and I'm going to say this for men towards a woman, it's heightened. It's there. It's, for a woman, you might call it the butterfly effect, right? You get these butterflies in your stomach and everything else, and you sort of feel like really giddy. Well, men have that same too, that reaction. There is, it's not going to be giddy, but there's going to be this huge drive.
Where they want to dive all in.
They want to dive all in. I mean, and sometimes it's all in love, and sometimes, I'm sorry, but it's all into sex. And that drive is, you have to being able to understand yourself. But the other challenge is you have to be able to read what's on the other side. So if that guy is really into you, but he's really into you because he really just wants to sleep with you, and that's what you want, you probably will find it.
You figure it out in the beginning.
But if you're looking for something that you might think, this is a lifetime, this is what I want, even if it doesn't make it to that lifetime, but that's the depth that I would say is going to come.
So. Wow, that was a pretty in-depth answer. I hope that's helpful to people.
I hope so.
On the first date, who should pay?
This one's an easy one for me. And I'm very traditional, so I know that generationally there are things that are different. It's the guy, to me. I think if you are essentially interested in somebody and their company, I think you need to take it on. And it's more than just paying for the date. It's the way you handle yourself in the date. It's the way you're able to treat, basically the person you want to be with on that date. I very much believe in manners. I think opening a door is very important. It's hard to use the word chivalry because there's a lot of...
Well, it's like you said, manners, opening the door
it's
on
manners
the date.
More than anything. So chivalry, we can cover that topic, for probably a huge amount of time. So chivalry is a very old concept that was developed. There's some skepticism about what it really means. But to me, it's manners. And manners are going to come down to think about how you want to be treated. So this is to the girls, right?
It's almost sending a message of being taken care of, and
there is a piece of that.
Yes.
So that is an underlying current that women need to recognize within themselves. So I'm not saying that they're not capable. A woman that's strong and is able to handle everything she has in the world, her strength does not need to be a masculine strength. So don't compare yourself to a man. You're not a man. You're never going to be a man. So don't be that. Be you. But strong women are absolutely beautiful. And be that strong woman, but have an expectation that the person you're going to entrust your feelings with is going to treat that with care. And that's demonstrated through things like, I'm going to pay for the meal.
But if I went ahead and paid for the meal, what does that look like to a guy? I think it's still okay to have balance.
It is okay to have balance because there is something...
Especially if there was maybe a pre-agreement to it, or half-half is also a nice agreement as well. No matter what you ate or what I ate.
I'll throw this out. Culturally in the world, it is very different. So
realistically, if you're much younger and things are expensive and you don't have a big paycheck.
I think the balance point is not necessarily the half and half or the deal being cut. I think it's basically giving where each side can give. So
not expecting a return.
Not expecting something in return. So let's put yourself in that younger state because you used that as an example. Let's say you're going to take your, you want to be taken to Starbucks, right? So let's just say you want a coffee date and you're going to have something fun over there and you're going to spend time together and you're going to meet each other. I think there's a different feeling for a woman or a girl that the guy's going to go ahead and pay for the drink. Now, how the guy does that changes very much because your means are very different at a younger age and somebody who is a little more established, has got a job, a different place in their career. But I think the gesture part is the key part to this. It's not so much the cash piece of it, the money part of it.
It's meaningful.
It's meaningful. So if you felt like you wanted to do something for your man or your guy, then that can come in lots of different forms. And I think it's not a trade. A relationship is never going to be a trade. If you treat it that way, then it's transactional, and that's all it's going to be.
And that's not what you want.
And that's not what you want. So I think the important part is, for me, men, it's manners, right? You're not paying cash to open a door. You're not paying cash to necessarily let her sit first or be able to do things like if she's going to go to the restroom, you stand. The idea of being into her and you want that, if you want, that's what you're looking for, is not a guy who's going to sit on his phone. It's not a guy who's going to be
Your attention should be on her.
Attention should be on her.
So if you and I are on a date,
yeah,
because we're helping our ladies over here, and he's done so much, he's paid for so many dates, and we're out for ice cream this time, and I'm like, we pick our ice cream and we get to the cashier, and I look at him. So can I treat you to some ice cream?
Well, I guess
is that a great way to ask?
It depends on whether it's gelato or not.
No,
I'm teasing. Also,
is that just like a very fun and casual way of?
I think it is a touching thing that a guy who is
she'd want to return,
that she wants to be able to participate in.
And I think that's important for girls to understand. As much as he gives, you should show that you're willing to give as well, even though he's the one doing it most of the time.
Well, there's the giving should happen anyway, right? I mean, yes. And I think. Guys,
that's why doing it occasionally is nice.
Like having it occasionally is very nice. I wouldn't say no to it. And keep in mind, I'm going to throw this out again, not talking about somebody who has really the financial means to do whatever they want. Think of it from those who don't, right? So I'm going to go to a younger age. Most of the time you may, if you're much younger, like a teenager, you may have a job, but it's not like you're making a fortune. And I hate to say it, but a cup of coffee is like $6 or $7 these days. So if you're making $20 an hour, you can sort of do the math and realize that it's a crazy differential in terms of being able to pay for something. But having that gesture of, let's say you can go out for dinner and you want to take your guy out to dinner and you want to do that, I think do it. But you don't have to do it at, a fancy restaurant. In fact, you don't even have to do it at a sit-down restaurant. You could do it with Chick-fil-A and sitting on a bench somewhere or in a park. Yes. I think to me, it's the thought that counts. And I think from a man's point of view, and I'll say this from my personal perspective, that's incredibly appreciated. Because it feels like you're very wanted. So, but at the same time, now we're providing advice for the girls, right? So it's the other way around. I want you to feel that you're wanted. And a man will demonstrate that through a variety of different things. But paying for your first date and going out someplace that is special to both of you, not that it has to be, like I said, a fancy place. It could be as simple as Chick-fil-A. I think that's the key part. But for the girls, expect somebody with manners. If he will not treat you with manners,
at the beginning, certainly not.
It's not going to happen. Now, let me throw one more thing in here. This is the secret for the girls to know. If you want to know how your guy is, know how he treats the girls in his life or the women in his life that are not dates. So if he has a sister or a mom, just throw those out there. For you, watch that, learn that. Understand that. Now, you may not see that initially, but be observant because it will tell you a lot. So throw this in here. I'm a dad now. Got a beautiful girl. I'm going to get my shotgun and take care of her. Right? So anyway, very protective of her. And so what am I going to do as a father? And what am I going to do as a father? I am going to basically show her what a date's like.
Yes.
And that's going to set an expectation for her. And I want her to have a high expectation.
And it should go nothing under, only above, if that's even possible.
And I know that not everyone is going to be able to have that father figure in their life in some form that will be able to have that for them. But it doesn't mean that if you haven't had that you shouldn't have an expectation that you are worth that. And so if a man cannot do that for you, cannot open a door for you, and just wants you to be independent, if you feel that somehow empowers you, I mean, I'm never going to say no to what a woman wants, but at the same time, I think deep down, you're going to want to feel that sense of security that a man can do something like that, and it comes through small gestures.
I must say, it's something with our relationship. Omar would open the door for me, and I would, in the beginning, always say, I can't open my door. It's not and then he'd tell me it's not the matter of ability. It is, I'd like to do it for you if you want me to.
Yeah.
And it always made me smile because to this day, 2 kids in, he still does it. He'll come all the way across from the other side, even though, he's like right there by his door. He'll come in and my door's still open for some reason. I'm busy with something. He'll come in and he'll close
and
it.
if it's not
Sometimes
open-
he'll even strap me in. I mean, talk about first class treatment. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think it's
Now,
very
don't
important.
start that with your first date, okay? Don't
No,
strap,
no,
don't
no,
strap
no, no.
your date out. But this is a little different in the
Yes.
relationship over a period of time. But yes.
Well, that was
a good
wonderful.
question.
Okay.
I like that.
What are the biggest turnoffs for a guy? Again,
gosh.
this is very broad, so
It is very broad.
only from your perspective.
This is a tough one. I think I can come up with one thing
Okay.
for me. Huge turnoff from my side is a woman who does not value herself. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there could be a bunch of other things.
Confidence, does that tie into it?
That ties into it,
Okay.
but confidence is a little different. So confidence is separate from me than valuing yourself. Confidence is the way you come across. So yes, the confidence is extremely attractive. Lack of confidence is not a turnoff because there could be a growth that's happening, right? So, and you can make each other better. So that's not it. But not valuing yourself comes in lots of different forms. It could be, self-denigration in the way you talk about yourself. It could be
just being very negative.
Being very negative, being turned off by the way you dress yourself, the way you carry yourself. If you don't value yourself, I can't value you. And I don't mean in the sense that there's no cash value here. It's not like
love yourself before you love someone else. I feel like that's very important.
Huge part. And I think for every woman out there, we're going to find, men have it too, but honestly, women have insecurities, right? And so those insecurities they can creep up on you. But the idea of recognizing them and finding the value in you. So you're not going to find me saying, I love the comparisons you get on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, take your pick. I think those are negative sources to me. They're unrealistic. They don't provide value for you. I think your best way to look at valuation from your counterparts is by understanding what's in it for them. I know that sounds a little bad, but if you're with a group of girls that will tell you that you are not worthy, but here, I'm going to fix you up and do this, that's not the way. That's not you valuing yourself. That's somebody dressing you up so that you can appear to be something
that you're not.
But you're not. So it's about being yourself. A beautiful girl can be in a pair of jeans, and she can be in a beautiful dress, and she can be on a beach in a bikini. She can be on a pair of shorts. She can be hiking in the woods. she can be anywhere, but it really comes through. If you don't have that, it is a very huge turnoff because you can't rebuild that from a guy's point of view. And they don't want that. They want to feel that joy of life. And it ties into something that a lot of men don't pay attention to, but it's kind of the basic core of the masculine and feminine. And even though men may not be aware of it and women may not be aware of it as much, it still builds into the energy that they have. And if you find that you're drawn to that energy, drawn to a woman or drawn to the feminine energy is life. That's what guys want. They want to feel absolutely beyond alive. And a woman brings that. And there is no doubt that any woman can do that. Any girl can do that, but treat it gently because it is part of who you are. Just don't lose it.
Wow, very deep.
Yeah. Hopefully not too deep, guys. There's a complexity to how I look at the world that's might be different than other men for sure.
All right. So this one's a little bit more on the social media end.
Oh gosh, my favorite. Okay, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
So as a man,
yes.
So what do you think about girls who post a lot of pictures of themselves?
That's not a hard one to answer. And again, I'll answer first from my perspective. It's a huge turnoff. It absolutely is to me. I love a girl that wants to be confident. I don't think social media is that umbrella, if you want to call it, to try to do that, or that way to do it. I think of a girl that posts on social media constantly with herself in a picture as conceited. It's not a turn on. It's like a turn off.
Looking for attention.
Looking for attention.
And probably not good attention.
Well, I don't think it's
attention nonetheless.
It's attention. I mean, there's different versions of what you're posting, I suppose, depending on what you're looking for. But either which way, the more you do that, it's about you. It's about you. And then once we're done with that, let's talk about you again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really a great attractive feature to me. Posting about your, like an experience you have with your friends, you went to the beach and you have a shot of that. That to me is using social media in a way that I think
tells a story
about your life. You went on a hike. Maybe it's a picture of you wherever you went to for that hike, or that day at the beach, or that adventure you had to. But if you're like constantly taking a picture of yourself and it's like you're in a perfect pose, I always think of the selfie monster.
Trevor Noah.
Yeah, Trevor Noah, the way he comes up with
that's a good skit.
It's a really good skit. If you guys haven't seen that, the selfie monster. And that's not a good...
That's what I think of now whenever I see people taking a selfie in public.
Yeah, it's almost like they transform and then all of a sudden they have the perfect shot. I just woke up this way. It's like, yeah, you didn't wake up that way.
Hashtag, I just woke up like this.
Yeah, and I think to me, that's a big turnoff. Now, I'm going to project out a little bit.
Mm.
If you're still trying to figure out what it is to be with a girl, so we're going back to, probably a teenage boy or a young man, that stuff, you may not be aware of that. You might be drawn to it because it's an image, right? So it's back to the visual. So the only thing I would say is to caution those really wonderful girls out there. That's not you. If that becomes you, then it's a very shallow you.
Another thing I also want to touch on is a picture is a split second of a moment as well. So, and Photoshop is unfortunately a huge thing. And if you have someone that's constantly posting pictures of themselves and also editing it to such extremes.
Well, there's so many filters out there now that you have an ability to add on to.
It's almost like social media a lot of the time. You look at a picture and you almost see the question most of the time, is it even real? Or to what extent has this been photoshopped? And this is why I think, as Omar touched on, looking at a girl posting a bunch of pictures of herself, it looks very...
Yes, and in all fairness, so let me throw this out here too. The reason I'm not a big fan of social media is I know it has its place, but it's built, no matter what Meta or anybody else is going to say, whether it's Facebook, I mean, frankly, even honestly, LinkedIn, that's the professional one. It's built to keep you on the platform. I mean, that's the whole intention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of created in a style that encourages you to add more and monitor who's looking and try to get as many likes or whatever it would be. So you have to be cautious about that. And these platforms out there, to me, have their value. I'm not going to say they don't. I think they're part of this day and age. For me, it's a little bit less important because that wasn't where I started, when I was that age. However, that being the case, you are always in control of what you decide to do with it. So to me, you love the platform, use it, but use it with the cognizant understanding of what it is that you really want to get out of it.
Don't
let it
get
get ahead
stuck on the analytics. I think that's what people do. How many likes do I have?
Yes.
This specific person saw the picture, liked the picture, and things like that.
So and then the other thing I will throw out there is you're sharing a moment, right? It's either a picture or a video or whatever it might be. And you're sharing something that might be funny. Call it a TikTok skit, whatever it would be. So do realize that your sense of privacy is changed by doing that, depending on how you do it. And if you're aware of that, then I think it becomes kind of a fun thing to use. Like you have a smaller group of people that you're connected to, that you're sharing, and you're able to share in this way of doing it. But also realize that it can go out there, quite a bit more. So
once it's out there, it's out there.
You have to be aware of it. So,
all right. So why are guys not more in touch with their feelings?
I wish they were. Okay, I'll start with that. I would say the biggest part, the reason they're not, is because they're taught not to be.
Mm.
I think there is an underlying feeling, we're not using the right word here, that men should be strong and not in touch with their feelings. And if they show their feelings, then they're demonstrating a weakness.
Mm.
That is entirely cultural. That has nothing to do with men not having feelings or being able to express them. There is this feeling as well that if a man expresses those, then there's going to be a lessened attraction, from the girls. I would challenge the men out there to be more expressive about what they're feeling. But you also need to do it in a good way, right? I mean, you do it in a way that's productive and you're able to share your vulnerabilities. I think that creates depth between two people if they're able to share both sides. Men are not emotional thinkers. Okay, I'm not going to say that. But at the same time, men do have an emotional side. So we all do to some greater or lesser extent. I could tell you one of the biggest emotions that I more recently have felt, because I do feel the bigger emotions in general. The feeling that a dad would have watching his daughter being born, and holding her. There's so much that comes in terms of that emotion. So men are taught not to share it, right? So you have this idea that men are out there. It's like, I'm going to shake hands with my dad. It's like, I'm not shaking hands with my kids. I'm hugging my kids.
I'm telling you.
They tell them I love them, and that love is not a weakness. That love is a strength. But unfortunately, I would say social media, cultural stigmas, and probably one of the biggest ones is the demonstration of what a strong man is so distorted. I would love for women to want that vulnerability in their men. And
I personally, as a girl, if girls to girls, if you're watching this and you agree with me, a man or a guy showing emotions and actually opening up is extraordinarily attractive. Just because we are in a day and age where it is so hard to come by. Being closed off is not so nice, because a closed off man is not a man that's secure and that's going to vice versa let you in both ways.
So I'll throw this out here, and I know that women have seen this, and I'm not a fan of it. And this is part of why I think Savannah and I have decided to try to have this as a channel for us. There's a lot of bad examples out there of guidance for men, really bad ones, and they come in the form of, I could give you a bunch of names, but it pushes on the idea of misogyny, right, in general. And I'll tell you right up front to women, masculinity is a great thing. This is not diminishing it. This is not a negative thing of masculinity. But how you demonstrate that is enormously driven by the relationship men want to have with women. So if you're truly putting yourself in a position where you find somebody is preaching a version of hate towards women, in a way that says, this is how you need to treat a woman. You need to put her in her place. Run. And if you have a man that has that feeling from a woman's side, you run. Mm-hmm. You don't need that in your life. Nobody needs that in their life. This is not a demonstration of that. And it comes from, again, a cultural component where I think masculinity has been really made negative in, I would say, the last, call it 10 years. Good masculinity is fantastic. But you can get this other side.
You find a way for your masculine and feminine energy to work together, not one dominating the other.
It is. So if you say to me, why do men have a hard time opening up with their feelings? I would challenge the women out there, be part of the solution, because men are going to receive so much input from, I hate to say it, their peer group. Mm-hmm. It's like turning around saying a young boy who's 12 talking to another boy who's 12 about relationships. Like, well, what do you know about relationships? You don't know anything. Mm-hmm. And if they don't have positive male examples, it doesn't have to be a dad. It can be an uncle. It could be a coach. It could be a lot of different things that will help guide them through a very challenging part of their life as they're trying to figure out who they are as men. You, as women or girls, play a huge role in this.
Because women are so much more in touch with their feelings. I'm not saying you are going to show them everything and they're going to learn everything from you. No. But it's two-sided.
But it's two-sided.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge part. So, to answer your question in basic form, it's because we're taught societally not to do that, not because it's not there.
All right, this is going to tie into the next one.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do you guys really think about showing affection in public?
You're exactly right. It's tying into the last
Yes, it is.
topic. So the demonstration of affection in public, it ties exactly back into that stoic male kind of figure that's out there.
Mhm.
You don't do that because it shows weakness, right?
Yes.
Um, I think it's a mistake. I think men should be able to show affection in public. We're so hung up, I think, as men on what that affection is and how it's shown. But in certain contexts, it's okay. I mean, it's weird. You'd find
There's a time and place for everything, right? And the extent of affection.
and the extent of affection and the connection you have with the person. So if you're more worried about what other people are thinking about and you're with your girl, you got a problem. I mean, I got to put that right up to the guys.
Mm-hmm.
You should be more worried about how you are with her. So the way you're affectionate needs to match the way you both connect. So that could be, huge hugs. That could be just holding hands. That could be a kiss. That could be just a glance.
Don't look around other places. Focus on your person.
Focus on your person. Don't worry about what your other friends are thinking about. And frankly, to the girls too, don't worry about that other side. You don't need to know what your girlfriends are thinking. You need to think what you're thinking.
You can catch up with them later.
You can always catch up with them later. But honestly, I think there is part of this is again societally. What's the display of affection that should be shown or not shown? It's the idea of, again, watching a son and a father shake hands as opposed to giving each other a hug. Is there anything wrong with a hug? I used to give my dad hugs all the time. And I would do it with some really close friends that are guys as well. So there isn't something that's changing you becoming less of a man by being able to have that ability and that bond with somebody. And you can demonstrate it through a lot of different things. But for a girl out there, if your guy can't handle this part, if he's willing to learn and to be able to be with you and grow, you got yourself a relationship. If that person is going to be a board, that's stone cold. I guess if you're into that, you're into that. But I would not be from your side. I would not recommend it.
All right. How can you tell when a guy is simply uninterested?
That's a very interesting question.
Again, we did touch on this when guys are trying to get a girl's interest.
Yes.
So what about when he's just not that into you?
That, of course, happens, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Unwanted affection or interest exists on both sides, for men, for women, for any relationship. I think women, if I had to have one recommendation for women, is you need to be in touch with your own intuition on this one. If a guy does not really respond to all the little cues that you give him, and I don't mean I'm going to pretend that he can read my mind kind of a thing. That's not the cue I'm thinking about. Then he's not going to change.
Mm-hmm. You can't change him.
You're not going to change him.
No.
And unfortunately, there's this feeling, I think, with a lot of girls and women that I see the potential in this guy. And that's happy to see that. But then I'm going to be the one that's going to change him. You are not going to be the one who's going to change him. The change needs to come from inside of him himself.
Yes.
So you may find a guy that is not as much in touch with his feelings. He's solid. He wants to work hard. You see how he is with his family and everything else, let's say parents and whatever, going for the younger man as well. You've got the framework to have a great relationship, and you might be able to be with your connection with him to bring out the best in each other. But if that guy is
stuck up,
not just stuck up, but I mean, if he's into himself, forget it. He's not going to be into you. It's more you're about his backdrop, right? More than anything else. That's you don't need to have that, but you have to be very careful about that. And I think from a woman's point of view, please don't walk into a relationship and expect you're going to change somebody.
Definitely observe and have your little radar on.
And you're observing. I mean, women are incredibly intuitive. I think it's built into basically a woman's DNA. They just don't capitalize on it as much. So don't misinterpret the guy who's unattainable as being your conquest. That guy's unattainable because he just doesn't want to be attained. And if you get him, you will have him for a moment, and then he will be on to what happens next.
Time wasted,
And it's time wasted for you. I mean,
you'll
yes,
just be another checkpoint for him. And
just another part of his life for a moment, and then he's on to something else. But I do understand the allure for it from a woman's point of view, because it's a masculine allure that you think that that person is going to be, you can actually somehow conquer that mountain, so to speak.
Unfortunately, it's so common out there.
It's very common out there, and I can tell you it's not worth it.
No.
So the other thing I do want to say, though.
Yes.
Okay. Attraction is through a lot of different things, but men definitely define attraction very early on. So, and I think a girl needs to understand that. So if they're not attracted to you, then more than likely they're not going to be attracted to you.
Or stay attracted.
To you.
If the attraction wasn't there initially.
And you could find a guy that's really super nice, but doesn't know quite how to deal with attraction at a younger age. He's not very self-assured. You can be surrounded by those people, but don't diminish them. I mean, they're the ones that you would consider to be in a friend zone, right? You may find that somebody has hopeful love for you that you may not have realized, and you're basically looking over your shoulder and saying, I like the guy on the motorcycle because he seems like he's dangerous. So anyway, I think that would be probably what I would say.
So you might have covered this quite a bit in our first few questions, but what is your idea of a successful first date as a man?
Successful first date is connection, hands down, right? So connection is much harder to have if you're distracted by everything else around you. So the idea of a dinner and a movie, or a movie, and that's your first date.
It's hard to connect to someone.
It's really hard to connect to somebody when you're sitting in a movie theater and you're watching a movie together.
Or just making out the entire movie.
Or
there's not much connection.
Well, the connection there. They're connecting, right? But connecting in a different way. So I think the biggest thing is success is going to come down to how you're able to develop a connection. Now, I understand you could be shy. You're uncertain. Want to try to figure things out slowly. Give yourself a chance to do that, but you can couple going out to a movie if you want to choose to do that, so you don't have to talk so much, with something afterwards, like ice cream or whatever it would be. So that would be an example of it. It's, I think, more challenging than saying, I'm going to go straight to dinner and have just the two of you talking.
Well, can I add something to the dinner part?
Sure.
So ladies, if you see him initiating conversation, not just yourself, that's a very good sign. And you don't want someone that's just talking about themselves as well. If you guys can go back and forth and have wonderful conversation without one person speaking through the entire dinner, that's a wonderful sign. Because again, marry your best friend, and I full on believe it, because Omar, to this day, both of us can mess with each other, joke with each other, tease each other. And you know what? Sometimes those very light and airy moments is what you need in life, because life is already so tough as it is when you're married, kids, exhaustion, work, stress, you name it. Is if you're able to hold conversation like you guys are the best of friends, what an incredible sign. And if that's a first date achievement, that's incredible as well.
So there's a buildup here, though, I want to add to this.
Of course.
So you're absolutely right. You're going to want to be able to connect in a way that you can have conversations that never come to an end.
Yeah, you have to stop yourself because it's getting so late.
It is getting so late. So that's definitely a sign of how much, not only is he connected to you, but you're also connected to him. Baby steps. So you may find that the easiest thing to do initially is to do something with a group.
So double dates, or just friend groups.
Or just friend groups where you can have some time, but you're not like exclusively focused on each other.
You don't pressure yourself too much, yeah.
You can also have events, like sports events are a good example of that, or something else that you're doing.
Yeah, so there's so much things out there.
There's so many things out there that you can do as a group, and you will definitely have some support from your friends, which is great to be around something that's larger. It's hard to be, I think, initially, if you're not 100% feeling so confident about yourself, to just be in that moment where it's just the two of you. Start off that way.
So being in each other's presence is very good.
It's huge. And then the hardest part is really the forced conversation, right? You get this dead silence that happens on a date that you don't know what to do with.
Which is still okay, because I mean, it's not necessarily a bad sign.
It's not a bad sign, but it can be very awkward if you just sort of stop.
Okay.
So I think, to me, the best thing you can do is be yourself, have your interests of who you are, and share those. And if the person on the other side reciprocates, you're going to have a conversation you're not going to have to worry about. And I think, to me, so the success of that first date is always going to come around connection. It will tell you a lot. If you cannot connect with that individual on the first date, and it could be that, I mean, I hate to say it, but it could be that you're listening to this guy talk about himself the entire time, or frankly, you're talking about yourself the entire time, and the other person walks away feeling like, okay, that was an hour I'm not getting back, right? It's 2 hours I'm not going to get back. You can never have that feeling. So connection to me is going to be the biggest part. And so participate in it. But trust me, if you're with somebody on a date and you can't get to having a word in edgewise, yeah, that's not happening. That's the end of the dating.
Yes, that is a single relationship.
That is a
right
single moment that you're, like you say, we would have said, yeah, I'm not getting that hour back.
No.
That's not coming back. So,
all right.
Yes.
Do you prefer me with or without makeup?
Okay, this is a great question, because I think, again, the range is very heavy depending on men. So your tastes are different. So if you're asking me with you, I love you the way you are right now. So I think there's a bigger underlying current today. And again, I'm not at the pulse of, a very young man, where a girl in her natural state is beautiful. Now, adding a little bit of makeup, I mean a little bit, I'm not talking
compliments
that natural beauty. So, and I do see when Savannah does this, right? It's not like I don't notice it. So, like, if she and I are going to go out to dinner somewhere, and she does a little more with her eyelashes, I will see it right away, because it changes just that extra little bit, and it's extremely special. But you don't need to cake your face with makeup, and guys are not going to understand makeup. So if that routine,
funny enough, some women who have put on makeup and said, I'm not wearing makeup, cannot tell the difference. So there's some men really honestly can't really tell whether you're wearing makeup or not. And to an extent of makeup is what they might
right. And so you can have skincare stuff that really enhances maybe your cheeks and features and things like that. Don't have the expectation that a guy's going to understand what you're doing with makeup. They're just not going to get it. They'll get the end result, and that's it. So if you took 3 hours to get there, they're not going to get that.
I think it's a bad sign when he expects you to be wearing makeup all the time.
Okay, I'll touch on that one. I would agree with you, because you end up now becoming, and I'll just use the term, it's not meant to be, bad or anything, but you'll be a Barbie doll, right? So if they're expecting a certain
to be
look,
perfect all the time,
to be perfect, and to have that
waking up like that,
but it's not being perfect. It's about having a certain look to it, like you're going to have like a smoky eye look. That I think is a separate. I'm going to say it's messed up, because I think it is. Because basically you're saying that the woman I'm with, unless she is in this form using makeup and she can't be herself, then that transformation is the only way that I'm going to be connecting with her. I think that's sad, because that's like a mask that you're putting on. Makeup should be able to enhance some of your beautiful features, your eyes, your nose, your lips. You do not need to rechange your lips to something that they're not. They are what they are, because that is the way the beautiful universe has made you in their image. And I think that's what makes every woman beautiful in her own right, and every man where they are as well. But if we're talking about women, so don't transform yourself. The other thing I will tell you about makeup is, most guys want a girl that's going to be able to be up to go and do something with them. So if they're into sports, they want to share that. if you take 3 hours to get there with makeup and you can't put on a cap, baseball cap, and be that person, you're not connecting at that level with that guy.
Because your appearance is more important.
Because your appearance is more
than
important.
the event. Yes.
If you're going to go hiking, that mascara is not going to look all that great if you're sweating, right? But
well, there's actually mascaras out there that can
fine.
understand that. But point is, yes.
But yes, and so
enjoy the experience.
There is an experience in life that you're going to be sharing, and it isn't in that one moment where you're going to show up. Now, I will tell you, if I'll give an example because we have a picture on the wall of this. We were in Scotland, and Savannah and I went out to dinner, and we were at the Preston Field, so wonderful Scottish place, and she was wearing that black dress. Talk about taking your breath away. Those moments will exist. And I want every woman to have those moments where, her guy is looking at her and it's like, he doesn't have words. He can't say anything because his breath is taken away. And it's a beautiful moment. And that could happen for, going out on a date. It could be going to prom. It could be a whole bunch of different things. That would be absolutely fantastic. But makeup is really meant to, I think, enhance, not cover up. Mm-hmm. And if a man wants you to cover up with makeup, they're not seeing you.
And on that note as well, if a guy looks at you and you guys are about to go out and he asks you, "Oh, you're not wearing makeup today?" Not a good sign.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If a guy is turning around to you and saying, "Oh, aren't you going to put on a little bit of something?" If you didn't initially put it on and you have a man suggesting it, especially in a bit of a negative way, not necessarily positive. I don't know how you can really ask it in a positive way.
No,
is there a way?
No, it's not a positive way. It's
you should. It's for yourself, right? A lot of girls, especially if you enjoy just dressing yourself up and you're confident about it, and it really is just part of your routine of getting ready. Mm-hmm. Enjoy you. But if you have a man projecting that onto you to do it, it's really not a nice thing for a guy to do, unfortunately.
No, it's not. But here's the other thing I want to throw in here. So we're talking about makeup, right? But this is about appearance, right? So this is a lot. And so for the girls out there, I'm going to tell you, you may find a guy that likes this, but it's a huge turnoff, I think, to most guys to see a girl that doesn't even take a moment for her appearance. I'm not talking about makeup. I'm talking
about putting on a nice outfit.
It's talking about, you don't need to roll out of bed and have bedhead and be in your pajamas going to get a cup of coffee.
Just putting up your hair nicely.
It is. You could be in a t-shirt and jeans and you're going to look great. But if you don't care about your appearance and you just say, just accept me for who I am, that means you're not. Who you are is somebody who doesn't care about themselves. There are certain places in the world that are very interesting. So the U.S. is extremely casual in general. So casual is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it isn't. You could be casual in a workout outfit. You can be casual in jeans. You could be casual in dress. It could be a lot of different things. I don't think the pajama thing is something I would push for, even though I do see it a lot more, particularly with younger girls. I don't think that's a turn on. That might be like a little bit like a novelty. But there are certain places in the world where you're never going to ever see that. So like if we go to places in Europe, you don't normally find the level of casualness that we see in the United States carried other places. And that's because there is this desire to have, a pride in appearance.
It's again, time and place for everything.
Time and place for everything.
So do guys talk about girls like girls talk about guys?
No, they do not.
Yeah. Girls like the drama and the details.
Girls love the drama, the detail. They want the breakdown, I think, in general. Sometimes I make a little bit of tease Savannah about that. Things like I'll make a comment like I'll go in, she's picking what she's going to wear for the day, and I go into her closet and I just say, you have nothing to wear. And I'm making fun of the jesting of it. She does obviously have things to wear, and so do I, but I'll sometimes make that fun on my end too. But gosh, I think that you have to be able to turn around and say.
I think honestly, women emotionally process things also by talking through it, whereas a man might not need that extent of it.
No, but But let me clarify this. There are men that are more sophisticated than others. Okay, and there are men that are more respectful and more kind. I think a respectful man will have a conversation with another man and just say, this is the most amazing girl.
Not in a not in a crude
it's
way.
not in a crude or gossip way.
Hmm.
Then you're going to find the 6-year-old guy who never grew up, right? I mean, it's like he might be 40, but he's still speaking like he's 6, and he
throws nasty comments out there.
throws nasty and laughs about them, right? Because that
Mhm.
crude part is funny to them, and so they'll find other men that will join in with that crudeness as
Mhm.
well. If you're finding yourself around a man that is like that wants to hang out with his buddies and wants to talk about women in a very derogatory way or in a very
Negative. Yeah.
one-dimensional way,
Mhm.
respect yourself. Don't be with that person. There's no need for any of that. So I think men do have conversations about women, and I think it's important for women to understand that kind of a relationship. I think two men having, or even a really good friends having a good bonding experience and talking about their relationships in life is not a bad thing. But having a bunch of guys that are at a 6th grade level having that discussion, you don't need to be around that guy.
That is a very good sign to get a good feel for a guy is his friends. Because oftentimes it's so funny because if you're in a coffee shop and you see one guy acting one way and his friends come and join him, it's like they're all going to act the same. It's such a group mentality, just in men in general, that they kind of equal each other out with whatever energies around them.
That also changes over time. So let me just sort of bring this up because you bring up a good point. There is this thing, I think, with younger men, the group think, which is not really a think. It's as if they're hanging out and they're sort of feeling each other. So there's not a level of maturity as they are at that age. So I don't have an expectation that would be any different. Okay, so I'm not saying that you need to change what you're doing. But I think as a man gets older, there's a sense of independence that comes that's different than being part of the group think. Now, that may happen in their late 20s, but not going to be certainly at 16. I wouldn't expect them to do that. So, but understanding how their friends are with them is a huge piece of the equation, particularly at the 16. I think you're going to find more of the individual man doesn't really need the surrounding. That's going to be when they mature. But if you do see a man that's in their late 20s or their 30s, and they are really connected with their guy friends, but they are like their posse kind of a thing, you may want to rethink it. They may have not grown up effectively. But I don't think you're going to find, it's not like, I tease, Savannah, we asked this question last time. It's like, what are girls doing? Why do they go in a group to go to the bathroom? Why? Why does this have to happen? So men don't do that. But there is other sides to them where they'll have this discussion. But oftentimes, it's not something that they comfortably do, and that's only because that they are looking out for no emotion, right?
All right. Well, second to last question.
Okay.
So why do some guys feel intimidated by women making more money than them?
That's actually a pretty easy one to answer. So inanely in men, so biologically, genetically, there's this sense of protector and provider. And unfortunately, and for men who are not particularly secure, that translates into income. So having a woman earn more essentially changes that dynamic. They feel like they've lost something. A mature man doesn't look at it from that point of view because a relationship isn't really based off of the money, right? The income isn't the driver for it. But I think that's also indicative of something else as well. So it's a bigger, kind of broader question than just men being intimidated by it. How do women feel about it? And so if a woman feels that
it's more power
for
and
her,
a step up,
then that also changes the dynamics in the relationship.
It looks down on the man.
So essentially, if that is existing in terms of that, then she is entering into the masculine realm, and that diminishes the man's masculine side.
It's never about competition.
And so, but that balance does happen. I mean, you will find women who will find men who are not particularly strong, and they're willing to be in that role because they're taking over that dominance.
I mean, you have such a thing as stay-at-home dads. I mean, I know stay-at-home moms is the most common.
It is.
But, I mean, people look down on stay-at-home dads. And this is something that there's nothing wrong with it, because if you as a partner to your partner have made this decision and it's got nothing to do with, I'm reflecting that I can step up more than what you can. It's like, no, you're stepping up in different ways. And if you're so touched on the number of the income, which some people are, it's very unfortunate, but you need to accept that it's not always going to be the case.
So let me throw this out here as well. Men, in order for them to be at their best, they need a challenge. They need to have that edge being sharp for them. And what that means to me and for every man is they have to be able to feel like they're striving towards something. And in a relationship, they do want to be innately in that protector role. It doesn't mean they're not going to be in a caregiving role, but that's not their primary DNA makeup in general. So if they're going to be in this role where they're going to be the protector and the provider, which is a very basic, call it, go back, hundreds and probably hundreds of thousands of years, this is the role that they were built for.
Instinct.
It's an instinctual world. So now it's translated into a modern world with income. But so long as a man can maintain that edge through whatever means, it doesn't have to be that. An edge could be, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Not that I'm recommending that. Actually, don't quite understand why people need to do this. But that edge can come through a lot of different things. It could be in terms of their work. It could be what they're accomplishing. It could be building something, like a home. All those sorts of things play into that edge. So then the income sort of changes that dynamic. But it's also counterparted immediately, I will say, with the way the woman has that income. So this is where you find, for example, we were just actually watching this, which is a very interesting show. We watched Victoria. So this is about the monarchy in England at the time, early 1800s, all the way through, well, in her case, till 1901. You see her prince consort, Albert, is struggling to find who he is, because she's holding that powerful role, the title of queen. He doesn't have king. He's not the king. So he needs to find his place. And it's a very interesting way, and very well put together, that dynamic that's occurring. I'm trying to figure out how does that place fit for that man.
And I think that is for a man and a woman to figure out together.
It is.
Society, unfortunately,
plays a big role into it. So, yeah, I think earning more is not the driver, but it's how the relationship functions.
All right. Well, we're gonna end with a very good one.
I love this. Okay.
All right. How do I show him I love him? It's going to be different for everyone, I know. But
okay. So this is an interesting one, because Savannah's right. It is different for everybody. You're not going to find that every man and every woman respond the same way. I think it's the little things more than anything else. You could have grand gestures, right? You could have a grand gesture that, I planned a vacation, we're going to go somewhere. Call that a big gesture. And sometimes that's actually pretty nice, because then you don't have to worry about doing that yourself, and you're kind of along for the ride. And that's a very nice feeling as well. But I think it's in little things. It's in the touch. It's in a meal. It's in holding a hands at a certain time. It is having the woman you love come up to you and kiss you, randomly. It's those small things. It's remembering something that's important to you, or making time for something that's important for you that when you don't have time, right? So those sorts of things. I think that's the way it comes out the most. And it's never through, money. I think for men,
some people's love language is probably
things,
right?
And I don't think that's necessarily.
That's why it's important to know your partners. How do they feel appreciated? I know Omar is very much in. I am like acts of service. He is very much as well, again. Yeah. So doing things just randomly out of the blue with no occasion or any reason whatsoever is a great way.
I mean, it could come in the form of a text. I mean, frankly, you're both busy doing things where, it could be school, work, whatever it is, and you get a text that says, I can't stop thinking about you. That's an example of the little things. And
taking time out of the day.
It's the idea that life is built around moments. And it's those moments that matter, because it is the journey. So for me, that's my recommendation. If you are not able to have a man able to do that for you and you're not able to do that for them, you have to rethink why that is
It's
and
very
understand that.
much going through life together.
It
So
is.
you're picking your person, and it's not about that person is separate from your day, rather than everything else is around you and your person for the
Yes.
day. And how you guys guide through that is going to dictate, is your relationship going to continue? Is it dying off? And it's very much every day an effort. You both wake up, you both choose each other. I'm speaking long term now, we're married. So there's
Yeah.
going to be days where you just want to not think about absolutely anything because it's a hard day, but it's choosing each other every single day, even if it's a very small effort to, I'm just going to make him some tea or some coffee. That says
There,
so much.
it does. I'll give you an example that I was used in an illustration and trying to understand relationships in a book. And the roles reversed here, but the context is still the same. This is a guy walking by his wife that's looking at herself in the mirror in the bathroom. And you could see that she's trying to look at her own soul through that mirror.
Mm.
And you could see she's troubled, right? I mean, there's something going on. She's emotionally feeling something. And you get this choice. Do you just put your hand up and walk by like you didn't see it because you want to deal with it? Or do you stop? And the stopping part builds the relationship. The walking by and saying,
What
I don't
does he
want,
do when he stops?
well, he would basically, it doesn't have to do very much. He could just put a hand on her shoulder and squeeze, or it could be a kiss, or are you okay? You know, the dreaded question, are you okay? You know,
Mhm.
from a man to a woman, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Or just, I love you.
Or it could be an I love you.
Just reassurance.
And so I think to me, look at the little moments in life because
Mm.
that's what you're gonna treasure and that's what you're gonna remember. You're gonna remember the day that you sat on top of the roof of your car and you were listening to your favorite song.
And
Your
also the bad stuff too. So showing him that you're willing to be there when it's not necessarily great.
So I will leave one other piece of advice. There is an expectation, I think, innately with women that men need to be strong. They
Mm.
need to be able to carry that. And I think that expectation it's well placed, and I think for a good man, they're willing to take that on. It doesn't mean they don't have a bad day.
Mhm.
And having the woman that's next to you or the girl that's next to you recognize that and say, "Tell me what you're feeling. How is your day going?" It's the reverse of the situation I said about looking in the mirror for the woman, and the guy walks by. That's also really, really important because they carry a burden that they may not talk about in different ways. And that happens. And it
Mm.
happens at different times in life. I'm not saying, somebody who has a burden that is in your teenage years is very different. However, there are still
It feels pretty
challenges in
big.
teenage years, right? So
Yes.
you're still getting that. I'm not diminishing that in any way. But I think as men get older and they take on more responsibilities of life, which hopefully you will launch yourself to. That's my encouragement to men. Launch yourself to those responsibilities. They help you grow. Um, it's nice to be able to have that moment to recognize, like, you're going to have a day like that too, and to look at it. But back to the same thing, your life, your love is all about those moments.
Mm.
Those are what you're going to remember. You are not going to remember your workday. You're not going to remember every meal you have. It's how you felt about the meal that you shared.
Mm.
You're not going to remember every trip that you take. You're going to remember what you shared on that trip
How you felt?
and how you felt. So
There are a lot of fish in the sea, are there not?
I'll leave with this thought because I think this is our last question, right?
Yes.
Okay. Life is going to bring you on that journey, and I think you may have heard us. Maybe I've mentioned it myself, but I think of the journey as a river, and you are meant to follow your journey. You have a unique journey. Every man, every woman has a unique journey, and you are meant to share that journey. You're meant to share that journey with people for a while, for a season, or forever. You know, I'm blessed with forever. And it's a very beautiful, beautiful feeling.
Mm.
However,
Yeah.
there are moments that you're going to have friends, family, and other relationships where they're there for a season. But the season that you have with that along that journey leads you to who you are today. So don't ever diminish that. So this is back to the idea that there is no perfection in us. There is a journey that gives us wisdom. And the ability for us to be able to step a little bit outside of our emotion at the moment and understand that we're going to be with the person we were always meant to be. However, don't be blind about it, and sometimes there is a step to get to that place, and I think Savannah and I can both agree we took steps to get there. We took steps to be where we were at the right place at the right time for us, that we could not have changed that time.
It's not to say that years before we would have been right for each other then.
Correct.
We had a few things we had to go through to find our way to each other and have the knowledge that we had going into our relationship.
So the idea of the river is understand the current and where it takes you. And it will take you different places, and you will run through the rapids, and you will run through the streams, and you will run through the placid moments. But all those are part of your journey. I will tell you, I could not be the man I am today without Savannah. I could not be the man I will be tomorrow without her. I could not be the father I am today without having had the journey that I had. I wanted so many different things that I have today. My dad used to always tell me, he would use it in a little bit of a spiritual reference. He would say, God gave me everything I ever wanted.
Not when.
Not when.
Yeah. Very powerful. And now it's a tearjerker too, everyone. So we are so absolutely grateful that we can
share this. And we hope that this will bring you some ideas. We're always welcoming questions. We're happy to do a follow-up as well.
I think every man and woman needs to listen to this. It's very important. I think girls don't know what men want, and men don't know what girls want all the time. We're not in each other's heads. So
we're going to be.
And we need to accept that, but surround yourself with people who can help you through that as well.
Yes. Help be there by your side. Help be your support. Maybe your guidance, maybe your love, maybe even just your example.
And this is why you have the Munch Corner backing you up.
You do. And so in order to do that,
you need to subscribe and like and share.
Like and share.
Okay. Well, so we loved having you.
Thank you very much for this time with us, and we're looking forward to another one. So we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to seeing you again.
You're still trying to figure out life, aren't we all? Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.